Well, President Trump says he is firing Fed Governor Lisa Cook over alleged mortgage fraud. Let's get to Steve Liesman with the latest. Hi, Steve.
Morning, Mike. Yeah, more questions and answers this morning about the independence of the Fed, the power of the president over the central bank, and, of course, the more important outlook for monetary policy when it comes to markets. The president saying he fired Cook for, quote, allegedly making false statements on one or more mortgage agreements. Cook, in a statement last night, responded, quote, President Trump reported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law and he has no authority to do so. I will not resign. Its questions include, is Cook actually fired now? We don't know the answer to that. Does the president actually have this authority? What will Fed Chair Powell do in response? Will he allow her into the building or cut off her email or whatever? How and when will the courts weigh in here? How much control does the president have over the Fed? Many, both inside and outside of the Fed, have viewed the attack on Cook as political, part of an effort to force the Fed to reduce rates. But also many wonder if the charges of mortgage fraud have substance that should force a resignation. Cook has not responded to the charges per se. If the removal stands, the Board of Governors would have only 5 of its regular 7 members. Chair Jay Powell, appointed by both Trump and President Biden. Biden appointees Jefferson and Barr, and Trump appointees Bowman and Waller. The president has nominated CEA Chair Stephen Myron to a vacant spot, so replacing Cook would give Trump a majority on the board. Fed probabilities changing only slightly in the wake of the firing. September remaining at around 82% of a rate cut probability, that is, and October at a 42% for a Fed cut, up a little bit. Overall, the market reaction, you've said this morning, is modest. Could suggest for now this is seen as a limited action by the president, who has some rationale for it, and that it does not concern the more important issue of the Fed chair. It could also mean markets don't think that much about Fed independence. Guys?
Steve, some references have been made in my X feed here to other cases such as that involving, I guess, Kaplan, Rosengren, Clarida. You obviously know all those people and the stories behind it, where there were some allegations of impropriety and they may have stepped off. Can you give our viewers some sense as to whether there is a correlation here between what may have happened with those cases and what this represents?
Well, I think in those cases, there were violations of, in both the Rosengren and Kaplan cases, issues of trading policy and violating the trading policies. These were referred to the Inspector General, and these gentlemen, I think, ultimately resigned before the Inspector General came out with their reports, perhaps from internal pressure to do so. And these were, I think, maybe a key distinction here, David, is on-the-job type stuff. They were on the job, and they were doing some trading that appeared to violate the Fed's trading rules. I think the key here also, David, and this is something that I think markets are wondering about, is this was handled internally by the Federal Reserve. So the Fed, in ousting these people or getting rid of them, was acting independently of the executive branch. The president never weighed in, as I recall, on those things. So that's a big question here, is ultimately, you could imagine, David, a situation where this issue with Cook is handled internally by the Fed that would preserve the independence and still meet the criteria of the president for getting rid of Lisa Cook.
Steve, appreciate that. We'll talk more about the market reaction later this hour.